Heavy metal is one of those genres with so many subgenres. Doom metal, black metal, new metal, metalcore. Entire festivals not only dedicated to metal music in general, but sometimes music festivals also dedicated to these subgenres. But I would say in the last 20 years, the most prominent and most popular subgenre of these has certainly been metalcore. And it's such a saturated market, which we will get into, that there are so many bands out there that definitely have the chance to make it big, go on these amazing tours, shoot music videos, but there are some who almost made it to absolute major success and just fell by the wayside a little bit. Today I'm going to be talking about a bunch of bands over the last 20 years who perhaps when you were younger or maybe in the early 2000s were absolutely crushing it, playing huge venues, getting on major tours, playing high on the bill at festivals, appearing on all the music channels and on music radio, getting shared a lot via social media such as MySpace and Facebook and YouTube, and these days have become a bit forgotten, or perhaps they fell off right as you would have thought they could make it big. Because there are some major players in the genre of metalcore in particular. Look how popular Trivium have become, Bullet for My Valentine, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage. Some incredible bands not only headlining their own tours, but also supporting other major acts on their tours. Guys, if you like my channel, my music news, reviews, and general chit chats, please hit the subscribe button. It is the most helpful thing that you can do for the channel. Band number 1, Chiodos. This band had everything they needed in order to be one of the big major players. A charismatic, exciting frontman, a loyal, dedicated fan base, strong festival appearances, touring with huge bands like Trivium, Killswitch, Stone Sour, and even began their career opening for heavier bands like Cannibal Corpse. They were big during the MySpace wave in 2005 to 2007, where many young kids were starting to get into heavier music. The popular thing had altered from pop punk and emo to more metalcore, deathcore and metal, so Chiodos fell right into that category of appealing to both metal fans and scene kids. I think the main reason they didn't blow past being a supporting act or medium popularity act into a major band like Killswitch, Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine is what's known as the saturated market. Similar to how there are so many skateboard brands and so many streetwear brands on the market currently that starting a new brand is so difficult because of the competition, Chiodos were right in the middle of a metalcore boom, but weren't getting as much attention as the other bands or as much attention as they deserve due to there just being so many bands on the market. The other reason I'd say is that bands like Killswitch and Bullet for My Valentine are so talented. Each member can play so well and they really know how to write a great heavy verse and a super melodic chorus. Chiodos, in my opinion, were just not quite on that level. Still amazing. They were Grammy nominated, had major success, and still have a solid following and still getting together now to do more shows. Just not quite on the level of those other acts. Next band, 36 Crazyfists. This band were from Alaska. Can you imagine being a band from Alaska and trying to make it internationally? A very obscure location to be starting a band, but this band sure as hell did it. They were at one point co-headlining with Atreyu with support from Chiodos, which, when you think about it, to be as big as those bands alone is super rad, to be co-headlining with Atreyu. They got just as much attention as the bigger bands in the metalcore scene like Killswitch and As I Lay Dying back in 2005, 2006. These days, however, Atreyu are still going strong, performing at decent venues and popping up at the odd festival while streaming to 2 million listeners a month. 36 Crazyfists, not so much, even though they had just as much potential. I think the main reason for this was just the momentum. Their albums and their touring and their major appearances were just fewer and further between. They also happen to be much bigger in the UK than the USA. It seems, no idea why, but that's where a lot of their tours seem to take place. That could be due to marketing, it could be due to the affiliation with Roadrunner Records, which has decent ties to the UK. And you gotta remember that at 2009 till 2013, there was a new different kind of metalcore taking over. There was Warped Tour metalcore taking over. There was Scene Kid metalcore taking over. There was metalcore with techno beatdowns right in the middle of the song, synthesizers, big fringes, massive V-necks, Vans and Toms, that kind of thing. super skinny jeans. You know what I'm talking about. So 36 Crazyfists had their foot in each door. Back in 2006, they were super popular with the scene kids and the metal bands, but then they couldn't really catch up with all of the other quote scene metal bands unquote that were really popping off at the time. Band number 3, Affiance. Now, this actually was one I wasn't very familiar with, but I saw they were getting so much attention on Reddit and YouTube. This band formed in 2007, which was a bit of an awkward time to be forming, because remember, at this point, other bands like Bring Me the Horizon, who would enter into the next wave of metalcore, were already gaining some momentum, were doing big tours in the UK, and were about to blow up on the Warped Tour scene in America. And there were other bands that Affiance were affiliated with, such as August Burns Red and Memphis May Fire, but for some reason they didn't get as much attention. I guess because August Burns Red and Memphis May Fire certainly are big part of that V-neck Warped Tour scene, and Affiance weren't so much. But it seemed absolutely perfect. I mean, touring with Dance Gavin Dance, but also getting to open for Killswitch Engage, 3 solid albums out plus 2 EPs, buttload of tours, including Warped Tour, and a tour in support or promotion of Knotfest. Honestly, it's beyond me why this band didn't make it bigger, because as you just heard, they have a lot of potential. Again, I'm going to put this down to saturated market and bad timing. That could very much well be it. Last band I'm going to mention, with an honorable mention to From a Second Story Window, as this band actually started in 1999 and finished in 2008, so certainly were part of that 2005 post-hardcore metalcore scene, and certainly were popular with a lot of those MySpace earlier scene kids that I was friends with back in 2006. I'll definitely mention them in a different video, but the final band I'm going to mention is Chimera. Again, I saw a lot of people wearing this band's t-shirts back in the day, 2008, 2009. This band started in 1998 and disbanded in 2014, with a brief reunion in 2017 for a few shows. And this band are kind of more of an OG band in the same scene as Killswitch Engage and a bunch of those nuclear blast bands, because starting in 1998 they were more of the earlier second wave of American heavy metal. Because remember, you had the thrash metal stage, and then there was sort of the Cannibal Corpsey stage in the late 80s, early 90s. There was thrash crossover with bands like Suicidal Tendencies. But by the mid 90s, that sort of heavy metal, that 80s thrash metal and heavy metal had kind of died out a bit, and a new wave of even heavier metal, including metalcore and groove metal, was about to kick off. And Chimera were one of the earliest bands on this scene. They're a successful touring band, great fan base, yet just under 200,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, so actually less than 36 Crazyfists, but on the same level. They're a good band, but I don't know enough about them to decide why it is they didn't get on the level of other bands such as All That Remains, As I Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine, and these newer bands such as Asking Alexandria, Bring Me the Horizon of Mice and Men. If you know, drop it down in the comments. Again, I'm going to put it down to saturated market. Guys, lots of love. Thanks so much for watching. One more time, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.